for all of you to participate in their upcoming event, which is happening on 27th February in Geo World Convention Center. Exactly. We've met multiple times in the IMC events as well, and Dr. Narendra has always supported the team out there. With that, I think, as rightly said, it's all about collaboration. So, Dr. Narendra, that's what your entire organization is all about. And on that note, we're going to be going ahead to our next talk by our eminent leader joining us. Well, his strengths lie in comprehending customer needs, devising tailored solutions, orchestrating collaboration across cross-function teams, thus helping customers achieve their business goals. At NSE India, his focus includes asset managers, focus areas include asset managers, insurance companies, pension funds, public sectors, banks, sovereign wealth funds, corporates, HFTs, and much more. With that, let's call upon the head investor relationships at NSE India, Rohit Mandhotra.
Thank you, Bhavna. That was an amazing introduction. I was waiting for someone else to kind of come to the stage, but that's interesting. So thank you, sir. What I'll do quickly is give you some numbers in terms of what other speakers have kind of spoken, because when we speak about NSE, the purpose of NSE is, financial well-being of all the Indians, okay? And when we look at Viksit Bharat, that is where we are kind of, also marching towards when we say, what will be Viksit Bharat. And I'll use some Hindi. I'm trying to work on my Hindi diction, so I'll probably use some Hindi so that, I can kind of have better command. So when we say Sabka, when we say Viksit Bharat, there are 4 or 5 things, and this is probably a much succinct summary of what it is. And when we look at the Niti Aayog, document of 108 pages, it is in length and length. But it is more about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, and Sabka Vishwas, as well as Sabka Priyas. So I will try and cover in terms of what NSE has done over time, what it is doing, and where is our vision and how we want to kind of contribute towards Viksit Bharat. So NSE obviously came into being in '94. The whole point of origin for NSE was because, we wanted everyone to participate. So when we say we were the first demutualized stock exchange, the membership was open to everyone. It was not that it was limited to particular people. So anyone who was sitting in Guwahati, whether it was in Shimla, whether it was in Delhi, he could become the member. And we were the first one to start that electronic trading. And like Sunil said, Indians know how to trade. BSE has been there for 150 years. When NSE came into being, we started trading online. And that was a big shift when you say that, anyone who was sitting in any part of India could kind of come, trade, and be a part of that journey. So, it is also being about inclusiveness. From 1994 to now, when we look at numbers, we process about 14 billion orders. And I'll get that context too in terms of why it is important. We settle almost 250 million trades. And when you put that in the context of the world, in terms of how everyone is trading, NSE has about 40 to 45% market share any day trading across the globe, which is a huge scale in terms of how, it is kind of contributing to inclusiveness of all the participants. When I said we are across, so all, and Sunil did touch upon that we have about 11.5 crore investors now, which is huge. I mean, if you put that in the context of any country, it would probably be a 15th or 16th largest country in the whole world. So in India, we cover almost 99% 84 PIN codes. So we have an investor registered from every PIN code in the country. Obviously, we have almost 1,300 brokers who cater to that. And we have about 2,600 companies listed. Now, when we say Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, now is 2,600, and I'll come to the next slide there, is 2,600 plus companies the necessary number to have, capital formation for the country when you're saying that you want to be a 7, 10, 15 trillion economy. Now, putting that into context, US is about 28, 29 trillion dollars. Their market cap for the listed companies is about 44, 45 trillion, which is about 1.2, 1.3 times of the GDP of the country. So when we say India becomes a 10 trillion economy or a 12 trillion economy, the market cap of the companies listed on the exchange will be about 15, 16, 17 trillion economy. And why and how that kind of, gets into the wealth creation, I'll come. But is 2,600 companies going to take us there? No. Probably these has to kind of, double in the next 3, 4, 5 years, because capital raising is important part, and we did talk about that. Now, where are we in that? Okay, where are we in that? In the last 3 years, from 22 to 25, companies have raised about 7.3 lakh crores on NSE. Obviously 29 are the number of companies that are listed. But the most important part, it's not the bigger that are getting bigger. We have a platform called NSE Emerge, where we list small and medium enterprises. And over the last 5 years since we've launched it, 139 companies have migrated from being a MSME to a large board, which basically means that not only they have become transparent, not only they have kind of raised that capital to kind of grow, but they have been able to kind of get them into a shape where from a half-yearly list, reporting, they are coming to quarterly reporting, they are raising more capital, and in addition, trying to get more people to participate in their journey of growth. This is something, we all talk about, but the most important part here is that, from a demographic dividend, the new registers which you are coming from, and we obviously, India is a UCC market and we track it at a user level. We know at any given point in time who's punching in the order from which part, from which location. And when we look at the stats, UP, West Bengal, I mean, Gujarat, Maharashtra were always leaders because you always had traders there, Rajasthan as well. But when you look at UP and West Bengal, these are the top five states where you have most number of investors. And the age also is now, the demographic dividend that we talked about is also changing. So when we look at the average age of investor in 2019, it was about 41, 42 years. That has reduced to 35, 36, okay? And, obviously, in a lot of forums, and we all know that, India has the demographic dividend from probably about 2037, 39. We will be the country who will have the youngest kind of working population. But another important aspect is that we have almost a 7x increase in the women participating in the equity market, okay? Now, this is an increase which is higher than how the males are participating. So there is obviously, in terms of inclusion across, not only in terms of more number of people, but also in terms of, a gender diversification of wealth. And, one more interesting aspect is, when you look at the new accounts, which are getting formed, these are the basically beyond 30 cities. And this is again a very standard measure in terms of, up to 30 and beyond 30. Most of the increase in wealth, increase in the number of accounts is coming from beyond 30 cities. And, if you look at Surat, Aurangabad, these are the latest one. Now, I'm trying to kind of come to a conclusion in terms of how are you going towards a Viksit Bharat and what are the things that you need to do. So, obviously, we all know about SIP and we all know about asset, which people are kind of pouring into equities. But this is the most interesting part. This is the first time, probably in the last 10 years, that the ownership of actual retail investors in the Nifty, listed companies has grown to more than 17.8, about 18%, which is much higher than FPIs, okay? So that, if you say, okay, that, the market cap of listed companies is about 5 trillion, 6 trillion, and about 20% of that is being owned by domestic retail participants, that's about 1 trillion of wealth, which is a staggering number. And just imagine if this, mutual fund sahi hai, and all these campaigns continue and the wealth keeps pouring into the, financial assets. When you actually become a 10, 12, 15 trillion economy, the kind of wealth creation that will happen, and like, we were talking about that we have a per capita income of 2,600. If that goes to 44, 4,500, look at the amount of, the progress that will have from a financial being. And another important, number that I want to talk about, and, when we talk about, and we meet a lot of foreign investors who kind of are always biased from how great the Western markets are, but you don't have as many companies there with almost 10, lakh plus investors. We have about 55 companies listed. We have 10 lakh plus, shareholders who are kind of taking part in that journey. This is something very interesting. We were always this mutual fund sahi campaign has been running for about 22 years. And probably up till 2017, 18, 19, individual investors, the retail investors are always selling, okay? So now as the age has come down of the actual investor who's investing like 34, 35, we see that in the last 4 years, they have all been net buyers, okay? Which is also to say that if Nifty has, or, if the benchmarks have grown up by almost double, if they've doubled, they have also, doubled their wealth. But is that enough in terms of when we say, okay, sabka saath, sabka vikas, this is something that NSE is doing from a financial perspective, financial well-being perspective, and we'll continue doing. But is there sabka prayas, okay? And this is where, another thing comes in terms of, we say that, the new retail participants are kind of only going into more riskier assets. They are kind of trying to do a gamification in terms of stocks. But when we look at the HHI, it's basically a measure in terms of how well diversified they are. You see that the number of investors are very well diversified. So they are not only pouring their money into riskier stocks, but it is getting diversified. And this is what I want to kind of come to, is in terms of, are they really creating wealth, or what is the effort, what is the prayas that we are trying to do? NSE conducts almost 4 to 5 in-person or online interactions with the investors every day. So though they are selling, and you can look at it in terms of how individual investors are selling the IPOs when they come in 1 week, 5 weeks, 10 weeks. But this is the prayas that we're trying to do, that you be long-term investor, you try and, understand which great companies are, how to invest, in addition to getting more companies to list like she said. And that prayas will probably lead us, in terms of that we, as a percentage of household, financial assets, India is still at 17.6% in terms of how we are stacked up against other countries. With our prayas, with that vision of 2047, we want that to be higher, and that is what we're trying to conclude. That once India kind of starts working towards that direction, you have more companies raising in capital, we create more awareness, we have more retail participants coming in, you probably will, reach that vision of a 10, 15, 20, 30 trillion economy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rohit, for sharing a comprehensive talk on the figures, and I would say the mind-boggling figures, which of course not just NSE, BSE both have presented, and it just shows how Indian financial market is progressing towards getting the new investors in, and of course the growth story of the Indian financial market.